friends. We wanted to send this update out to you and let you know about something that's important for our own ministry over in Russia, something that comes up quite a bit, which is also a topic of conversation a lot of times with friends and family back in the States. That is breaking the fatherless spirit. We've seen a lot of breakthrough with it, not only in our own lives, but over in Russia. And I like to, when I teach on it, I talk about how, you can have the greatest natural father in the world. Like I have an incredible dad. I grew up with an incredible dad and mom. And even with a great natural home setting that you can grow up in, even with that, you end up ultimately needing to retrain your mind, retrain your heart to interact with God as a good father, and to learn that even if you had a great family, that He is the perfect father, and that can end up changing a lot in your life no matter how good you had it. In a country like Russia that's been known as the most fatherless nation in the world over the last 25 years, it ends up being kind of a core message that we like to teach on, that we like to minister through. When we're teaching on the prophetic, we like to bring it back to that. When we're teaching on healing, we like to bring it back to that. That the Lord is good. He is a good father who gives good gifts to His children. And so we like to focus on the idea that believers should not act like orphans, that we should not have an orphan mentality. Very often with a fatherless or an orphan mentality, oh, there we go. And speaking of a child who's not an orphan, here's little Asher making his debut. But very often with an orphan spirit, with a fatherless attitude, you see people living in fear. And it says in Romans 8 that we're no longer slaves to fear, but we are sons of God. And very often it's either that you walk in your identity or you walk in fear. And you could tell with believers who clearly don't know who they are. They're trapped in fear. It could be part of a bigger worldview. There's an incredible sense of impending doom, and the Antichrist is around every corner, and the devil is winning in their lives, and he's always on the prowl, and there could be a very unhealthy focus and perspective. And so we like to turn people's hearts towards an attitude that, hey, the Lord, this good Father, is working for the good of those who love Him. That He is not just focused on your works in life, but that He is incredibly focused on your heart and turning your heart towards Him and having a relationship with Him. And from that place, we get to be about the Father's business. And from that place, we get to look like our Father more and more every day. In Russia, one of our favorite things to see is for believers especially, who've been in the church for years in some cases, to get that revelation in a really strong way. And that could manifest itself in a lot of different ways. But one of the practical applications of that is that their heart towards ministry and towards their natural family around them changes. They feel at rest, they feel more peaceful. They don't become lazy, but they become restful in their heart. And their relationships around them become more peaceful as well, because all of a sudden they're not forcing or trying to control other people or be controlled by them. They end up being powerful people that know how to love other people well. And it's something we love seeing. Is there anything you want to add, Beautiful?
I think for women in particular, I know we can struggle a lot with comparison and with jealousy, and which is, in some ways a manifestation of the orphan spirit. So when we see breakthrough, and when the Father's heart is released, it's been a joy to see jealousy break off of women's lives, and to see their sense of worth not wrapped up in them comparing themselves to their friends or to other women around them. And it's just that security of having that your identity in the Father's love. It's been so sweet to see that, no matter where we are in the world, but especially in Russia, it's been sweet to see that breakthrough in so many of our students and our friends. And also, I think just vying for position can also be another manifestation and of the orphan spirit. and to see that that security again, just be, be secure in the Father's love, kind of breaking that, having to knock everybody else off the ladder because you're scared that you're going to lose your favor and position in whatever arena that may be.
Yeah.
So, we've seen that in many different areas and regions around the world, but we're thankful to see health and healing happen to believers internationally, globally.
Yeah.
So,
and as a practical example, in the socialist and communist nations before, like in the Soviet Union, one of the main features was people sniping at each other. They were turning each other into the KGB and all this crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't trust anybody. And we've noticed that as people get the revelation of the Father's love, they end up opening up and trusting people more and loving people who can't pay them back, with favors or anything else. And that's a big deal. So as you pray for us, continue to pray that revelation will become stronger in our own lives, so that we can minister, not just so we can minister to other people, but so that we can receive it ourselves, and so that we can be more effective in ministering to other people. We love you guys. Asher especially just adores you. Love
Thank
y'all.
you.
Bye-bye.